Hey guys, how's it going? Jonathan here, doing the 5 best small adventure bikes for 2021 and 2022. Starting with bike number 5 is the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Coming in at number 5, this bike has one of the broadest range of color options available in this tiny segment. It also comes with switchable ABS in case you want to have some fun and slide around in the trails. Where it truly falls behind is in the power to weight ratio area. This bike is really budget oriented, but in my opinion, it falls behind in so many aspects. Basic suspension and frame system, it is the heaviest out of all of its competitors, has the least amount of power and the most archaic engine architecture and old school lights. This bike really is about style and a unique experience, well that and a budget. Coming in at number 4 is the Kawasaki Verseys-X 300. Look guys, the Verseys this is a strange one. I've been racking my brain on this one. I'm trying to figure out really what it's made for. It shares so many parts with the Ninja 300. It's a dual cylinder which makes power relatively higher in the RPM range. I'm not saying it doesn't have a great use, but what I am saying is that at this price point, I'm trying to understand the value proposition. So let's start by looking at its use. This is a light tourer, made for smooth roads rather than pure off-road. But when you compare it to the Bmw G 310 GS, you're going to get more power in the BMW, more off-road capability, and a really nice package. What is the proposition here? I think it's Japanese reliability. With so many parts shared with high production volume bikes like the Ninja 300, maintenance and repairs will be way easier and cheaper than the BMW. This is the light highway tourer that can go off-road, and it can go off-road darn well. I wouldn't want to do a full day off-road on this bike, however. Coming in at number 3 is the Bmw G 310 GS. This is the street bike that can go off-road. If you love high-speed handling and plan on doing mostly on-road touring, this is the bike. It really is probably the most versatile out of all the bikes, depending on how much you want to ride on a sport bike. By far the most broad-use bikes we have, but unfortunately, really does nothing all that great. I can't really imagine much off-road with the stock wheel and tire setup. I mean, it's got a 150 millimeter tire in the rear, and they're street tires, so. And with the skid plate and riding position and other off-road bits, it really doesn't make sense that this bike is so darn hamstringed by these wheels and tires. It truly is a great bike with great potential, but I'm having trouble making sense of it. Maybe it's made for adventure touring only in European cities. Bike number 2, the Honda CRF 300L. Truly the street legal dirt bike. It's hard to fault it for not winning, and I think its designation as number 2 is justified. I think that most people would overlook this bike, but the truth is I've toured on basically the same bike and it's a great option. I'm talking about the Honda XRE 300, which is the version made in Brazil. I'm regularly getting 80 miles a gallon on this bike due to Honda's legendary fuel economy. This makes a smaller gas tank a much smoother pill to swallow. The ground clearance and wheel and tire package make it suitable for basically full days off-road. This bike is meant to be ridden to the trails. And in my opinion, real adventure touring is real true exploring. This bike will not be the limiting factor. You will be the bottleneck. And that's what makes it great in my opinion. It's also about 70 pounds lighter than any of the competition. That's huge. And if you want to compare to the power to that, like the G310 GS, you need to look at the 8 horsepower per weight. And when you look at that, it's actually a contender with the Ninja 300 motor powering the Verseys or the BMW. So even though it's lower powered, it still can keep up with the others. And the best part of it, it's the second cheapest of the bunch. What I think would make it win is more wind protection and a nicer saddle. And here's the winner, the KTM 390 Adventure. This was a really tough one, but the winner is clear in my eyes. If you look at the price comparison, for the KTM 390 Adventure versus any of the competition, for a little more money, you just get so much more. You get traction control via KTM's MCS system. You get ABS, a full TFT screen that is nicer than all of the competition. You get the most horsepower in the matchup by a long shot. The KTM 390 has 27% more horsepower than the second most powerful, the BMW. You get the biggest tank, which in my opinion is pretty darn important when touring. Seat height isn't the lowest, but it's not the highest either. You get a nice beefy set of tires. Ground clearance is definitely not the best. In fact, towards the bottom of the list. That is going to be by far the largest drawback of this motorcycle. Well, that and the wheels. I would have preferred a real set of adventure wheels. I'm talking spokes here. But I believe that this bike is more oriented towards long touring on the highway and handling on and off-road. So to sum it up, we've got the KTM 390 coming in at $6,700. The CRF 300 coming in at $5,549. The Bmw G 310 GS coming in at $6,195. The Verseys coming in right around $6,100, and the Royal Enfield coming in right under $5,000. Which would I pick? I think the answer is pretty clear. It's the KTM 390 Adventure. So to wrap up, these top 5 are going to strongly depend on the quantity of off-road versus on-road riding you'll be doing. If you really plan on doing huge days in the saddle at highway speed and getting deep into the woods, then the Honda is what you want. The Honda is by far the most off-road oriented bike of the bunch. If you plan on spending the majority of your time on-road with light off-road, perhaps in a more urban setting, the BMW is the way to go. If you want Japanese reliability and easy maintenance while doing everything okay, then the Kawasaki is the best. And if you're looking for fun, economical experience with friends, go for the Royal Enfield. But darn, it's hard to justify how much more you can get if you spend $500 more on the Honda or $1,700 more on the KTM versus that Royal Enfield. It doesn't even seem like they're in the same class.